Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Thought I'd play a little game today. Apart from making the video, I thought I'd make a game out of it. It's just a silly little thing, but what I thought we'd do is if I go round looking at what's in bud, and then the order I film the plants, I'll put those plants with numbers in the description, and we can play the what order do you think those blooms will open in game. Obviously you don't have to play, it's just a bit of fun if you choose to join in. But you know what I've said about buds in the past, there's ways of telling how close they are to actually opening. Part of it is previous experience based on the size of the, you know, the blooms and things like that, but I'll go over those as we go round. So some things are quite a long way off and some things are really coming soon. So it's as I say, just a bit of fun. Right, we'll start off with this one up there. I'm not getting all the plants down and getting them out, I'm just going over them because I'm not watering everything today. Now, I was debating, this is Dendrobium Hibiki, and I was debating whether these were buds, kikis, new growths, etc. But if you look round to the side of the plant near the base now, you can see what is obviously a new growth. Well, if that's a new growth, then the others aren't. A simple comparison does that. So these are buds. This one hasn't bloomed for me before. I have no experience, so I'm guessing exactly the same as you. But it's forming buds in quite a few places at the base of the plant. These are clusters. Well, they will be. There's a clue. But yeah, they tend to bloom in clusters, so each one of these growths pushing on could be multiple blooms, not just a single bloom. But yeah, down the line a bit, so that's Dendrobium Hibiki, first time bloomer this will be. Looking forward to it, lovely colours. Right, the next one, swinging in the breeze, is Mr. Hairy. This is Dendrobium senile, and well, a clue on this is the buds have been pendulous for quite a while, hanging down in between the leaves. And now they've decided to climb up above the leaves and start sticking outwards. These blooms are yellow. Yeah? So therein lies a clue as to how long that might be till it opens. Dendrobium senile. And I've had this type of dendrobium in bloom before, but not this actual plant. The one that bloomed for me died trying to winter rest it and getting it totally wrong, basically, a year or two ago, whenever. And this one is a new acquisition of the same plant, but this for me will be a first time bloomer on this plant, even though I've had these blooms in the grow room before. Now, this is Epidendrum Nocturnum. You're going to have some fun with this one. It bloomed once before, and this is probably in my grow room unique. This plant has a habit of self-pollinating. So when the bloom opened on that spike, either overnight or first thing the next day, it self-pollinated and the bloom collapsed. I didn't even get a chance to get a picture of it, so I've only ever seen the bloom on this for a day, you know, part of one day and part of another day, and then it was gone. But it is pushing a spike out here. Now there's potential for more than one bloom, but we'll see how that goes. But that's an early spike. That's only started pushing on recently. But if you look at the length of that spike and the length of that spike, yeah, but there's no bud showing and starting to swell yet, although I believe this bit under my finger is the bud part of the spike. So we'll see on that one. But yeah, lovely bloom. If you know, when we get there, and the instant it opens, I will film it and take a photo of it for my records in case it does it again. Right, that's that one. Epidendrum Nocturnum. I think with a name like Nocturnum and the colour of the blooms, it's night scented. So it needs to last through the night. We'll see how that one goes. Now I'm including this one because it's a perpetual bloomer. That's probably had well over a dozen blooms on that spike. It just keeps coming. Now the last bud aborted, but there is a little bit of green at the top. So we're playing a double game on this one. Is that bud going to abort like the last one did, or is it going to make it and bloom? and if so, how long? Now that is Psychopsis Mendenhall Hildos. I'll get there in a minute. So people have got Psychopsis, some people have got them. So they're going to recognise the top of a spike looking like that, with a bit of green starting to show out of the brown sheaths from the previous buds. So people who've got one and have seen the progress on that will have a good idea from that point. So Psychopsis. Now this is Dendrobium wedding bells, which was sold as a nobly type, but with spikes looking like that, there's certainly not a lot of nobly in it, that's for sure. And blooming this time of year sort of gives the game away. But these buds are pushing on quite nicely now, but although it's bloomed before for me, I can't remember, and I didn't get a picture, so I can't remember how big the blooms are to tell how far advanced these buds are. So I'm in the same position as you guys. And it's one that I doubt anybody else has got. I've only ever seen it once and I bought it. I've never seen it at shows or in ownership or in any YouTube videos. So yeah, Dendrobium wedding bells. They're yellow, that I do remember. But I can't remember whether they've got any colour spots on them or anything like that. We'll have to wait and see. But the buds are pushing on nicely now. There's quite a lot of them in various places, but the bit I'm pointing the camera at now are the most advanced buds, so that's going to be the spike that opens first. Now I've got to stop filming things up on the hanging rack right at the top, just making my arm ache. So I'm going to switch between high ones and low ones, give me shoulder a rest. Now this is Tolumnia Sunset Pink. Can't remember whether this has bloomed before or not, but the plant's in a state of recovery. The scale had this one and knocked all the old fans down, but it has managed to grow some new ones, and out of this latest one hanging downwards it has got a spike. Now, anybody who's had Tolumnias again will have the experience of the spike pushing on and then the buds starting to show, and then the buds will extend and open eventually. So out of the Tolumnias in bud, that's going to be the first of the two Tolumnias with buds on at the moment, but it's a little way off. I'm not supposed to be doing clues. And the other Tolumnia, this is my only Tolumnia species, which is Tolumnia urophylla. This does have long spikes. This has bloomed 2 years ago now, or almost to the day. But the longest spike up here is starting to show its buds. The secondary spike is still pushing on at the moment, but 2 spikes on that one. And from what I remember, those are sort of delicate little yellow flowers, but it is a species, not a hybrid, so the blooms are going to be quite small. So how big are the buds are going to be? Quite small. Now these two plants are the same thing. I split it to try and get it in the pot. But this is Prosthechea radiata, or it was last time I looked. That may have changed. There's been some renaming going on with Prosthecheas, so Prosthecheas. But those are the buds. I can tell by the size of the buds that this will be the spike that opens first. These are not large blooms. They are highly fragrant, and this looks like it just blooms annually at the same time as well, because this was in the New Forest show last year in the fragrant section. And we had a mixed response on this one. You know, you get people to stick their nose in and, you know, that's fragrant, smell that one. And a third of the people pulled back, actually reeled away from it and said, ugh, I do not like that. Now, I don't find it offensive at all. I find it quite a nice fragrance, but it's quite strong. You know, people who suffer in confined spaces with strong fragrances, this would be a headache job, this one. But, yeah, Prosthechea radiata. Yeah, so not huge blooms, what I'd call medium size, I suppose, but yeah, that'll be fun, because there's probably not many people got that one. It doesn't seem to be around much. It's a lot of plant for not a lot of bloom, quite honestly. I mean, the 2 I've got are going to go. Once these blooms are over, then I'll be moving these 2 plants on. So they take up a lot of space for blooms that are once a year. And they could do with basically potting up in the same pot, possibly the back end of each plant being removed, although this year it looks like they're going to shoot out in more than one place, so they're going to start to clump up. When you get these up to specimen size plants confined in a pot with lots of new growths in many parts of the plant, and then you get a mass blooming, they are stunning. But as single little rhizomes like that, they don't look so good. But that one's got at least 2 new growths coming out, one at the front and one behind the previous year's growth, and it hasn't done that before, so it's starting to form clumps, which is good. So that's that one. Okay, I've made me shoulder ache filming those up high. Now I've been kneeling on my knobbly floor and made me knee ache, so I'm going to stick with the medium height ones for a bit now. give everything a rest, and now I'm going to have a coffee. Right, this is Shelob Tolkien. Now this has been in bloom many times, so I've videoed it many times, and quite a few people have got this one. Yeah, so in perspective, these buds are showing their colours. Yeah, so they're showing their patterning through the bud, and those buds from bottom to top are now about 2 1/4 inches long. As I've always said with buds, if you know that the sepals on your bloom are 2 1/4 inches long, or roughly, and that's the length of the bud, it's going to open soon, isn't it? Because it's not going to grow any longer. Yeah? It's just a thought with buds. You know, once they reach the length that the sepals are going to be, then they're not far off opening. And as I say, that's showing its patterns as well. So Shelob Tolkien, that one is coming soon. As I said, I'm not getting all the plants out to film these because I only need to be able to point at the spikes really. Now this is Dendrobium harveyanum. Plant went downhill fast. Have we got any new growths at the base yet? No, not yet. So it's still struggling as a plant, but it is pushing up 2 spikes. Yeah. Again, not large blooms, but beautiful. I mean, when this bloomed continuously, it was a top favourite in my videos. You know, oh, make sure you get that one in. We like the frilly. It's frilly all over and bright yellow. Beautiful blooms. It's a well worth having plant. But whatever happened to mine, don't let that happen to yours. But yeah, these spikes are only just starting. And quite honestly, this is showing that the plant hasn't gone downhill properly, because the last few spikes I've had have only had 2 or 3 buds on, whereas it's capable of getting upwards, you know, around the 10 mark. Well, this spike here has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's about 8 buds on that spike, and a fair few on that one. Well, if it can find the strength to push out the spike, extend it and produce that number of buds, then it's coming back from the brink, this one in this case. So Dendrobium harveyanum, 2 spikes on the go at the moment. And this spike is Oncostele Wildcat Cheetah, and without going to look at my records, I believe it's my only Wildcat left. I got rid of one Wildcat Rainbow because I just didn't like the blooms. Oh, I'm getting fogged here. Damp face. Well, that's better. Just for a minute, then it can go back on. And Wildcat Bobcat was one of my favourite blooms, and I lost that plant. It just went down. I don't know why, it just did, but the bulbs went soggy, new growth went soggy, and I thought you're better off out of it in case whatever you've got gets on anything else. But this Wildcat Cheetah has got a nice spike, and from memory, 2, 4, 6, 7, maybe 8 buds on that spike. That is going to be a good spike. And the last one it had, I think, had 3 or 4 blooms on. So you know, this is developing a reasonable root system underneath the plant now. What's left of it, because I lost. Well, when I repotted it, I took a couple of the older bulbs off. But yeah, nice spike on that one. Now this will be fun to guess. This is Disa Cue Ensis, and when I bought this pot full of plants, basically it was a single pot full. It's now 3 potfuls. Apparently, if you do reasonably well with Disas, you'll end up with so many after a couple of years you won't even be able to give them away. They do spread quite dramatically if they're in good media and looked after properly. Then, you know, that pot over there has got 3 plants in it. It's already got 3 new plants growing in the same pot, so that's going to be 6 by the end of the year. They multiply like wildfire basically, and you end up with loads and loads of them, which is good, because I know some people that would like to try those, I suspect. But anyway, this is the most advanced spike, close in here. The other 2 spikes nearer the glass are just starting. And I don't know, because when I bought this it was in bloom. So these are the first spikes I produced myself, so I don't know how long they take to develop. But there's no sign of bud separation from the spike yet, so the spikes are still extending. So they're not forming their visible buds yet. So they're probably a bit of a way off. And we certainly mustn't forget this one. This is Brassia Chieftain Ludlows. It's its actual title, and it starts here and it goes all the way along there, right up to there. This is a hell of a spike, and I'm paranoid about this spike because it extends so long. I've had to move the plant to stop it touching the roof, and I'm paranoid every time I take this plant down to water it because I've got such a long spike on it. I'm worried I'm going to break it or knock the buds off or something. So I've got to really look after this till the bloom's opened. But we're looking at that's going to be the first bud. Well, these bottom 2 possibly together, and the buds are now as long as my finger, so we're looking at nearly 3 inches. I'll give you a clue with this one. When the blooms open, from the top to the bottom is around 8 inches. These are massive blooms. They're tiny in the middle, but you know, the typical spider look to them. So what do you think on that then? Ready to open yet? Or not? They're not far off, I don't think. And I can't, without going to look at the picture, I can't remember how patterned they actually are. Because if they are highly patterned on the sepals and the non-lip petals, then the patterning should show before they open. So I'm not quite sure on that. This is its 2nd bloom spike at the moment. I think the previous one had 4 blooms on, and this time we got 2, 4, 6, 9. So a little bit better this time, but they're pushing on. They're getting quite long. Okay, and the last one I'm going to include in a little bit of fun is this one. Now this has actually got a name. It's Dendrobium Memoria, Christa, Erdmann. This spike needs to be like 6 to 8 inches long, with the buds hanging out all down the length of that spike before it opens. So as you can see at the moment it's about 1.5 inches long. So unless you've got one similar to this, it's got Farmeri in it and Griffithianum, which are both very, very similar orchids with similar spikes, similar numbers of blooms and similar bloom sizes. So that's the sort of general appearance, shall we say. So given that that spike needs to get to sort of at least 6 inches and probably 8 before the buds hanging out the sides are going to open. So what do you reckon on that one then? 1.5 inches now, needs to get 6 to 8 inches long. Okay, right, as I say, there's a couple of other things in here that are that have got buds or spikes on, but I just wanted a variety of different types of orchids, although chances are there's more dendrobiums than anything else. Oh, actually I'm going to add another one on, I've just forgotten one. Yeah, another dendrobium, of course. This is Dendrobium Friedrichianum. These are the buds. They're all very similar. I think these are the most advanced here on this cane. This cane are the least advanced ones because they're still in spike stage without even showing any buds. So this is probably the first spike with extending buds now that's going to open. And these are, as dendrobium blooms go, they're not small, they're more like medium size, I would say. So again, I think there's a few people out there that might have that one, friedericksianum. And Yeah, so they may be cheating. But have a guess on that one then. I'm looking forward to these because the blooms are very nice, and although that's bloomed before, it was a pretty pitiful attempt. I think it had 3 or 4 blooms and that was it, whereas this time it's gonna many. Just to, oh, let me do a quick count. 4, 8, 10, 13, 16, 19, 22, 25. That's probably going to have 30 plus blooms on it when it comes out. I was just, that was a rough count to get a feel for how many buds per spike, and then multiply it up by the number of spikes that aren't even showing their buds yet. Yeah, it's going to be 30 plus blooms on that, I reckon. And they're not a bad size, so that's going to be a good show when that gets there. So that definitely is it now. And as I say, I'll put the plants in order in the description with numbers, and then anybody who wants to play the game can just give me you know, a list of numbers, preferably separated by a hyphen or a comma or something, rather than just one continuous, you know, number like a billion or something like that. But yeah, just a bit of fun, and we'll see where we are. I can tick them off as and when they open. Obviously, when blooms open, they always get filmed. You know, that's a good video. New blooms just opened. Everybody likes that sort of thing. But I thought we'd have a little game of how long do you think? I think I had a go at this once before, but I forgot to follow it up. But this one I'll remember. Okay, see you next time.